Welcome to Galaxy Brains.
An infinite amount of cash.
I'm your host, Alex Thorn.
The U.S. banking system is sound and resilient.
Bitcoin made a new all-time high.
If you're not long, you're short.
Satoshi's going to come on there, laugh hysterically, go quiet, all Bitcoin's going to be erased.
Bitcoin's the best crypto out there.
Bitcoin is going to zero.
Welcome back to Galaxy Brains. As always, I'm your host, Alex Thorn, head of firm-wide research at Galaxy, and we have a great edition of the Hong Kong tapes, interviews that I recorded from Galaxy HQ in Hong Kong in September. This episode, we have a great guest, Zhang from Avenir Crypto. I'm going to talk with Zhang about what they're doing, building a crypto conglomerate from scratch. Avenir is a spin-out from the family office from one of Huobi's founders. It's a fascinating conversation. We'll talk with Zhang about what they are building, including a big fund of funds. They're going to invest a lot of money in crypto funds. Before we get to that, I need to remind you to please refer to the link to the disclaimer in the podcast notes and note that none of the information in this podcast constitutes investment advice or an offer, recommendation, or solicitation by Galaxy or any of its affiliates to buy or sell any securities. Let's hop right into the conversation with Zhang. Let's go now to our guest, Zhang Bing, CIO of Avenir Crypto. Bing, welcome to Galaxy Brains.
Thanks, Alex.
I'm excited to talk with you. We were talking before, and we're recording this here in Galaxy's Hong Kong office. And I just learned about Avenir, but you're making a big splash already in markets. What is Avenir Crypto? Maybe at a high level, you can share with the audience.
Sure, of course. Avenir Crypto belongs to the Avenir Group. Avenir Group is essentially a family office founded by the ex-Huobi founder, Mr. Li Lin himself. The group started last year, and we currently have 4 business lines. Avenir Crypto is the biggest, with controlling 95% of the assets that Mr. Li Lin has. And the second business line is the Avenir Capital, which is a Hong Kong-based family office. And the third one is Avenir Innovation, which invests in new technologies that includes AI, new energy, renewable energy, and biotech. But currently, what's hot definitely will be AI. The last one is Avenir Foundation, which is a charity group.
So let's dig into Avenir Crypto, because that's where you work. And also, you said it was 95% of the assets are in that business unit. What are you guys doing in crypto or plan to do?
Yeah, we are actually quite busy. I think after the family office was set up, we started actively managing the founders' assets. He's basically the holdings pretty much in a majority of them are still in the cryptos.
Yeah.
And on back of the BTC holding and ETH holding, what kept us busy is that we're applying the correcting strategies to generate and enhance yields on back of the assets. The strikes and maturity we choose are carefully chosen, so that even if the price goes above the strikes, we're okay by selling at those levels.
Yep. So income generation strategies with options for now, but you have other plans to deploy some of that capital.
That is correct. So we don't want a very concentrated strategy. What we did is that we carved out about $500 million recently to give to external fund managers. It's more like a fund business. And we did 2 events, one in Hong Kong the week before last week, and the one in Singapore, along with the 2049 token events, and to officially launch the Avenir fund Partnership Program. I actually like to call it Avenir Cubs, because you just mimic
Yeah,
the,
like Tiger Cubs.
Tiger Cubs concept. So we carefully, of course, for this program, we welcome, of course, we have a strict set of, criteria. We choose the managers, but everything else equal, we prefer to have taker strategies that will generate healthy taker flows, which serves some other purposes of our initiatives.
Interesting. So other managers, and do you have is there a specific sets of strategies? For example, are we talking about managers pursuing long short strategies or market neutral strategies or quant strategies or all of the above?
Yeah, we look at all strategies across the board, but among all of them, I think on the top of the list will be CTA, because we like that kind of risk profile. If you make a lot, but you control the downside, and also market neutral strategies are also welcomed. Things like a cross-sectional coins long short, option, delta neutral strategies. At the bottom of the list, I would say that currently, given the capacity we have, bottom list will be like this arbitrage strategies, to be honest, because that's something that theoretically is very easy to understand. We ourselves have actually quite a big allocation to our own traders. We're doing that ourselves.
I see. So for diversification, you don't necessarily need ARBs.
Right.
What was your impression? You said you through these events in Hong Kong and Singapore. I was at the Token Conference in Singapore. There were a lot of people there. I think the organizers said 25,000 attendees.
Right.
That's huge. That was probably the biggest conference of the year in crypto. Did it feel like a bull market to you, or what was your impression?
It feels definitely like a bull market. Just for example, the event that we had in Singapore, we had like 400 registrants, and 85% of them eventually made it. The one in Hong Kong, we because it's more closed door, so there's still more than 100 people showed up, and overall in Singapore, I met so many people. My calendar is like a blockchain, essentially.
Yeah, mine looked like that too. I thought it really was too. That was my first time in Singapore. I was blown away at how many people traveled there for the conference. I mean, if you're in Asia, it's not that far, but there were tons of people from Europe and North America. That's a far trip.
Yeah, I think crypto is known to have Asia as its early centers.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about these, top tier exchanges, Binance, OKEX, Bybit, but the Huobi, our old Huobi in the past, they took off. I think crypto, CeFi exchange took off from Asia.
Yeah.
You have a lot of talents, veterans in this region, so
Yeah.
that's probably you got to
In
opportunities.
Bitcoin mining, obviously, all the manufacturers of the ASICs, the biggest ones. It's and other big exchanges too. Even ones that like Bitfinex even moved out to Asia for a while. I recall.
Yes.
It's a lot of interest here. Is there? Why do you think that is? Is there something cultural? Is it?
Yeah, I think culturally, I think Asian people likes to bet. They like to take a risk. I mean, look at the casinos in Macau. I mean, look at the casinos in MBS in Singapore. It's full of people. Even I go to Vegas. There's a lot of Asians. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if you go there.
I've only been there once, but yes,
A
I mean,
lot
sure.
of Asians. Even the people like in my grandma's page or grandpa's page, they're still like doing the machines. I think that's the culture, and also I think the early success of the Asian operated exchanges lies in that they stress on profits. Even these days, I think the tradition, that culture, the profitability driven culture is still in Binance is very deep rooted in Binance.
Yeah.
And same for us as well.
Here's another question too. You've got some in-house trading strategies. You're going to allocate to other managers, perhaps with other strategies to diversify. What about venture? Are you going to do venture investing?
We have a in-house like a VC or PE like a venture investing department right now. That's in charge of a young lady over there. But the majority of these holdings are actually coming from the old Huobi days. They already invested a lot of the early stage projects, and we just inherited them from them. But for a while, I think the founder himself wasn't quite keen on doing more such investing, because especially this year, it wasn't a great year for the venture investing. But we started opening up that investment revenue avenue again, primarily because the vision the founder has. Also, not only we invest in venture itself, that department actually is called strategic investments. We invest any startups that has something related to crypto or crypto business.
But not a broad-based venture strategy at the moment. Not saying, what do you in terms of segments in crypto? Like, for example, I was talking with somebody yesterday about what the big trends are in the crypto market this year in terms of thematic trends, and there are some infrastructure's a big one, things like restaking and modularity, and DeFi is strong, but it's not growing huge. Is there any like what we say, like the application layer, something that intrigues you in particular, or intrigues Avenir? Is it DeFi? I was talked with Arthur Chiang from Defiance Capital. He's a big DeFi guy. Is it just like, do you have any particular interests in one over the other, or one areas, or is it a little bit of everything?
It's funny you ask this question, because I myself actually was a very, very heavy DeFi user. I won't call myself degen, but I used a lot.
Yeah.
Previously, before I joined Avenir, I basically tried every major DeFi launches, the apps myself. But at the Avenir level, we haven't seriously identified any investable opportunities in the DeFi space. But we have a lot of VC connections. I was talking to some major heavyweights, people in Singapore, about VC investing in crypto native projects, and they are, from a risk reward perspective, they still think that investing in layer 1 or layer 2, these kind of projects makes sense from risk reward perspective. Other things, they come and go. There's always this narrative about it gone in 6 months' time. So that's instability doesn't make these opportunities look that attractive.
Yeah, I think that's right. The applications, whether it's DeFi applications or NFTs or games or whatever, they're not. It's been a bit stagnant this year, I think, in terms of growth in those areas, but new blockchains is always, but to me, I'm a little bit cynical about these, because they have been good investments, but it's kind of like, do we really need more blockchains? At some point, shouldn't crypto deliver some killer applications to people, or have we already?
Well, interesting, right? Because I always, when I come to this subject, I always I like to borrow the example of the invention of refrigerators. Because when the refrigerators came live, people think, wow, these companies like GE are going to make a massive amount of money.
Right.
But in the end, it is not the refrigerators producers that made that much money. It is the Coca-Cola that made massive amount of money. That lesson told me that the platform probably is not going to make you rich, but cherry pick the right application will. So by holding that notion, that's my way of investing. So basically, that I look at the Uniswap, I look at the Lido,
Right.
all these things are technology-wise is revolutionary. I mean, they're definitely top-notch applications. But the problem with that is the tokenomics, given the U.S. regulation, all the other things, the token holders cannot capture the value. So that's the dilemma. I don't know how long. I'm not a regulation expert. I think one day somebody is gonna come say, this is the way to unlock the value of these fantastic apps. We kind of need that day to come.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think if you can have tokens look a little bit more like equity, but there is a difference in regulatory framework between the U.S. and, well, there's a lot of different ones, I guess, all over the world. Do you think that there will be, for example, even in Hong Kong, they have taken a much more direct and progressive approach to regulation than they did in the past, and I would say also than many other places. Do you think it will flourish more here than elsewhere? Is there, because there does feel like there's something very positive happening in Asia in crypto.
Yeah, I think Hong Kong is in many ways are ahead of the U.S. in terms of regulation. But the problem with Hong Kong is that this market itself, or the market that it can reach, is still relatively small. Without China getting really involved, I think the advancement in Hong Kong is gonna has a limited effects. U.S. on the other hand is the largest homogeneous market in the world. I think anything coming a slight change in regulation or slight softening in the regulation in the U.S. will make a much bigger impact than anywhere else.
That's interesting. Yeah, I think I wonder about. I do wonder about it. I think both. I think there's a lot of blind spot in the U.S. to what's happening here, and I think from a regulatory standpoint, certainly the U.S. is kind of fumbling, dropping the ball a little bit by not recognizing how big of an opportunity it is. It feels like some other jurisdictions outside the U.S., like here, recognize a real opportunity to differentiate and capture on sort of America's, delay in figuring out how they want to handle this.
Yeah, and also regarding the U.S. regulation, I think another the roadblock is that just have too many regulatory bodies over there. I mean, it's really hard to coordinate with each other. Everybody sometimes want to push out the responsibilities. Some of them want to with feeling that they should rule. You have SEC, CFTC, some consumer
Bunch of them,
departments.
the trade FTC, the CFPB. There's every acronym you can think of.
Exactly. So that make it the regulation very hard to make in the U.S. And that basically the consequence of that is that you are pushing out the risk taking offshore,
right,
which created all these problems that we had in
yeah,
2022.
FTX and
Luna, etc., etc.
Right.
So I think there's something that has to be done there.
That's I hope it will be. We have a little bit of optimism just because of the presidential election, and one side I think is very obviously good for crypto. The other side is still might be better than the current. Right. That's sort of maybe that's optimistic in my mind, but. In either case, there's a catalyst on the horizon of that election that might change it. I think also the U.S. is maybe the only major economy that has two primary market regulators where commodities and securities are regulated by two different agencies, which makes it adds an interesting political battle between the agencies, like bureaucratic battle, on top of the other stuff that makes it difficult. I think most, right, in Hong Kong, the regulator is also the central bank or the money issuer too. It's all combined into one, right? So maybe it will flourish here.
But Hong Kong, one interesting observation is that actually this year, Hong Kong is actually, the first one that made the ETH spot ETF available.
That's right.
For the US.
That's right.
So if you think that's a leading indicator, what's interesting is I was telling people that there might be a little catalyst for ETH price. Is that now just maybe a week ago, Hong Kong? There's the news that Hong Kong had started studying that for the ETF inflows, the ETH under the ETF can be staked. So you can have a little bit
that's good.
Risk-free yield on top of that. If you think that's a leading indicator, then US may follow. Right now, that's still not available. In the US.
That would be huge because I think for a lot of financial advisors, if you like the fees matter, right? ETFs are very low fee products, and by not having staking in an Ethereum ETF, it's effectively like adding 300 or 400 basis points of fee. And so, you'd be so much better off just buying and staking it yourself, actual spot Ether. Well, I think it's really interesting. I can't wait to find out more about what Avenir is doing. It sounds you only just really started a few months ago, right?
Yeah. So we started, I think the firm was set up last year, but this year is the year that we really started running, building up the business. So the first line of business is to manage the founder's his own wealth. Now we're thinking. Now we carved out 500 million to give to the external managers to diversify the risk taking.
Yep.
The next step is that we're building a proper asset management platform.
I see.
So that we can start extracting the external assets.
Right. So you
to
start
manage.
raising some outside capital.
Correct.
And then would that be deploying it into the fund of funds primarily as the first one, or like other strategies maybe as well?
Yeah, we will decide once we have a more diversified trading teams in-house. Yeah, then we can choose and pick. Most likely, we'll favor our own strategies. And
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess because then you're stuck doing if you do others, then you're sort of doing capital introduction business, which is kind of tricky, right?
Yeah, and also from a system perspective, if you start, attracting external money, then you have to, build a very, robust platform where you have external trading teams as well as external fund,
Yeah.
the capitalists.
Yeah.
So that you're sitting in middle and manage both sides. So,
What-
that's require a decent support.
Yeah, it does. And then there's like your brokering, and there's probably other regulatory things too that make it tricky.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're just purely offering fund vehicles, then you're a classic asset manager.
Yeah.
It's very interesting too to think about. The founder has wealth generated from building one of the world's largest exchanges, but you're mostly still in crypto. You say diversifying, it's mostly within crypto, right? He's not, because I saw, for example, Tether has just bought a farm, some kind of agricultural business. I read $100 million. I'm like, now that is diversification, you know?
We start seeing some diversifications. So the Avenir innovation is our the new technology investment arm. For us, we just set up an office in Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
So we started building a team over there as well. So it's interesting. The other day, actually, we had a group dinner together, and the founder was standing there. He talked more about AI than crypto. So then once he sat down, I was sitting next to him, and I asked him particularly that if you have only one choice, right? You choose between BTC or Nvidia.
Yeah.
So what is your choice?
Oh, no.
Then he, fumbled for 5 minutes.
Okay, that's good. I'm happy it was hard for him at least.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
That's hard.
Then he carefully said that he probably will still choose crypto. A reason is that, given, Nvidia now had 2.5 trillion market cap, right? But for that to quadruple in 5 years' time, you need a perfect, like a few things to be perfect, right? To be met.
Yeah.
In order for that to quadruple. That includes no competitors. The current AI studios, the transformer, the LLM kind of technologies going forward, et cetera, et cetera. China won't come in big, et cetera, et cetera.
Right, there's management risk as well. Like, what if it's just not
Yes,
done
no,
properly?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And but for Bitcoin to quadruple to go to 200,000, you only need Trump to say that I'm making this national reserve.
I know.
Yeah, so
That's
that's
true.
just one condition.
Yeah.
And boom, the thing will go 200,000.
What is your view being on what's the end bullish case for Bitcoin or for crypto in your mind? For example, some friends of mine, they think that Bitcoin is only successful if it becomes the unit of currency for the world. Others say no, it could simply be a digital gold-like asset, and that would be victory. Like in your mind, John Cahill from Galaxy was saying on this podcast that if it just crypto replaces the plumbing of all of the financial apparatus, then that was his vision of victory. Do you have some view of what a very happy future looks like?
I think given the nature of Bitcoin, and also given the existence of all these large sovereigns like U.S., China, they won't give up, right? They won't give up the centralized management. So I think Bitcoin will not take over, but we could be 10% could support 10% of today's GDP in 10 years time. I have no problem with that. If that does happen, let's say the current the global GDP is at $100 $1 trillion in 10 years time grow to 120 maybe a trillion, then BTC supports 10% of that. That give you a valuation of $400,000.
That's like a 6x ish from here,
Yeah,
right? Because we're
from
about
here.
2 trillion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can easily see that happening.
Yeah. That's
And
not.
in Singapore, if you notice, in Singapore use the app called Grab to call cars.
Yeah,
right? Grab just starting yesterday or today, they start accepting BTC, ET, the few cryptocurrencies as deposits.
Did they really?
They can use that now.
Wow.
In Singapore, maybe limited to some few users, but at least that's a good start.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that, but I did use Grab a fair amount. Great app. I think we should wrap it here. But thank you so much, Bing. This was great. For everyone, Zhang Bing, CIO of Avenir Crypto. Thanks for coming on Galaxy Brains. That's it for this edition of the Hong Kong Tapes. Thank you again to Xiao Bing from Avenir Crypto, and we will see you all in the next episode. Thanks for listening to Galaxy Brains, the weekly podcast from Galaxy Research. If you enjoy the show, please like, rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. To follow Galaxy Research, sign up for our weekly newsletter at gdr.email, read our content at galaxy.com/research, and follow us on Twitter at GLXY Research. See you next week.